Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. This is Edmund, and today we're going to go and take a look at Evacuation. It's a game by Delicious Games and Rio Grande, and it's a 1 to 4 player competitive game where you are basically evacuating from a planet that is dying in 4 years and trying to take your already existing economy and build a new one on the new world. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rules, and then we'll come back to my thoughts afterwards. So before we go and get into rounds and actions, let's kind of do a little bit of setup here, just so you kind of know what you're working with here. And it also gives you a great introduction into the iconography here of the game. So everyone will pick a player color and then pick a spot on the old world for you to go and place all your tokens. It doesn't really matter which ones you go. I mean, they are all a little bit different, but you don't know if that's going to be a good or bad thing because you don't know what ships are going to be coming out when you pick your player color or player position on the board. So it's better just go and pick whatever one is closest to you, so that way it's just easier to remember what and reach all your stuff here later on. So after you picked your player color and put all your tokens onto the old world, you then will be filling out your player board here as well. One thing to note is they are two-sided, so it's easiest to kind of just hit your board to match what the big board looks like, so you can keep track of new world and old world easier that way. So you'll be getting one of 4 different sets of technology. They're all labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they also have 3 different tiers. Basically 1 pip, 2 pip, 3 pip. When you go and fill out your tableau, just randomly fill out these into the different spots. Only thing you have to make sure is just match, the pip tier to the correct pip tier I'm displaying out here. Now, I prefer to do the points version of the game instead of race. So a few different things that you do when you're doing points is you'll have public objectives that you can select from. Plus, you'll have private objectives that you'll then do a 4-player draft, 4-card draft of. It's pretty much, classic, take one, pass it. And then after that, you'll select 2 of those objectives to be your private objectives for the game. And you'll be the only one that scores those. All right. You can see them right now, but there's also the stadiums, spaceships, and also infrastructure projects that are also you'll be interacting with throughout the game here. Now, one other big element of the game that you'll be interacting with is the satellites. Each player has 2 satellites out here, and depending upon player count, you'll be using either 2 or the 3rd row as well. The first 2 rows here have basically special icons on them, which are used for placement, which we'll get to later. But you can also, there's other ways to get a lot of these symbols. Plus, some of them also have other bonuses like resources and other interactions with the game. And we'll get more into that. So another optional module that I personally prefer to play with is the actions module. Basically, normally, in just normal mode, you'll just use these for marking which of these actions you've taken and how many times you've taken them. And that matters because each of these actions here have a power associated with them, a numeric cost, or not cost, but numeric value that's used to determine in a couple of later phases how much you move along the satellites track as well as if you qualify for any of the end of year bonuses. But one of the alternatives is instead of just using these as markers, you can get and like you'll start the game with like 7 of these and pick 4. You should always have 4 in your hand when playing through it. And these have different types of actions on them. Some of them, have just bonuses. Some of them have kind of lesser but cheaper actions. Plus, also they have usually 2 actions on them of varying, usage. But they also have different power values. And we'll get more into power here when we get to later values, but there are times where you might want a lot of power or 0 power. So the game is played through 4 years and 7 phases in each year. You'll do income, and then you'll check right here. You'll do income. All right, let's say it. All right. Game is played in 7 phases and 4 years. The first phase is income, and as you can see, I've already kind of collected income, but we haven't done the second part of it yet, which is check. So the check part of the income phase is you check the year that you're in. So we're starting out here in year 1. You need to spend 5 food from the old world to feed your population. If you can't feed your population, for every food that you miss that by, you take a penalty marker. And those are quite, I believe, at least -3 points, or they're negative enough that, it's kind of a deterrent to get those. But as you can see, the further we go down, though, you get 4, and then it's 2 and 2, and then the last year, you have to have 4 food in the new world and 1 in the old world. All right, so after the income and check first phase, then we're into the actions phase. And actions is quite a bit. So we're going to kind of go back to that here in a moment. We're going to just kind of go through the rest of it. All right, so we've gone through the income and check phase. There are 7 others. Basically, we have the actions, transport, turn, determinate turn order, progress, bonuses, and cleanup. The progress and bonuses is where we'll get into the power that I was talking about earlier. But the bulk of the game there is in actions and then transport. So let's go ahead and get into actions. So the actions you take require 2 things. That you potentially pay energy to take an action. So your first action and your second action don't require any energy. Your third action, though, will require 1 energy to be spent. Now, where you spend that energy from is important, and where you're producing your energy matters, and that's going to be done by your satellites. So, at the beginning of the game, your satellites start out at the beginning of the track here. As they go along the path here, eventually you get to this midpoint here. Your satellites' placement in comparison to this midline determine where you can spend power for actions. So at the beginning, if both of your satellites are on this side, or basically both around the old world, you can only spend energy from the old world to do actions. Once you get one of your satellites out past that midway point, so now it's in the orbit of the new world, you can now spend energy from either side. And once both of your satellites are past there, you have to spend energy only from the new world, then at that point to take actions. So for each action that you'll take, you'll be progressing along this track and spending energy as needed. And as we just covered, from which world that you have to spend it from. Turns, you'll take 1 at a time. So basically, everybody keeps taking actions until everyone passes. Once you're past, though, you're out. So no jumping back in. So for the original setup, actually, since we did check, I should have spent the 5 food here from the old world to feed my people. And so we can see I have 2 left over here right now. Now let's go and kind of get into the actions themselves and the icons for them. And a lot of those actions are all printed out here on your board here. So whether you take these actions from cards, or the printed ones on the board, the icons all still pretty much remain the same. So let's kind of go through some of the ones that are on the board here. And so whenever you also take one of these actions from the board, you don't get all the actions that are under a number. You basically pick one of these two actions. That's the other thing that's kind of more powerful about the cards is they typically give you multiple actions, but the difference is that you might not always get the power that you want. So under the 4 power actions, we have basically gain any one resource and then exchange 3 resources for any, make 3 exchanges. You could do 2 energy for 2 metal or whatever, combination you want to shift your resources around in. The only stipulations is that any exchanges you do have to remain in the world that you are exchanging them at. But any resources you can gain to the old world or the new world. And so gaining resources is one of the only ways, especially in that first year, to get resources in the new world to do any kind of actions and development there. The next action is technology. Technology is pretty easy. So whenever you take the technology action, you basically get to place 1 disc on any one of your technologies. All the first level technologies require just 1 action to research them, and then that technology is now active for the rest of the game. If you want to research a technology on the second row, you have to research the technology underneath it, and they take 2 technology actions to fully research. So the first one you'll use to mark the left marker, and then the next time you do a technology action, you would slide it to the right to show that you've now completed that technology. A few things to note on here. Some technologies have lightning bolts on them. That means that as part of taking that technology, they have at least part of the technology is a one-time immediate benefit. Some of them are just a one-time immediate, benefit, like settle a water site for free. So that's the technology action. Okay, so that is the technology action. Now we're going to look at the power 3 actions. We have fabricate a factory. There are 3 types of factories, and they are the 3 types of resources. Those will get placed into the new world under sites that have like that same kind of little hut-looking icon. Any factories that you fabricate, the resource that you spent to build it, because each of them, to build a metal factory requires 1 metal, same for energy and food. To build that, wherever you spent the resources to build it, that is the planet that factory gets assigned to. Now, any that you build on the old world will not produce because you can't add any more infrastructure and buildings because you're trying to get everything out of there. So you'll need to transport this from the old world to the new world. Obviously, it's best if you can just pay for resources and fabricate it in the new world, but that might not be what you have available to you. Next action under 3 is cloning. So you spend 1 food and you gain 2 citizens into the new world. You might be like, oh, we don't have anybody there in the new world yet, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Just think of it as like you're reproducing a lot of like just the same person. So like you got a lot of people named Gary. All right, the next action is industry actions. So industry actions are very simple. For every industry action that you have, and the default one on the player board is 2 industry actions. You can take 1 industry from the market, or you can play 1 from your hand out in front of you into your tableau. You do not have to meet the goal of the industry card to play it, but as soon as you meet that requirement, and if it's out in play, you then get the benefit, which is typically income. Just kind of go over some of these here. This wants you to have 2 factories in the tundra area in the same row. This needs 3 sites in the same vertical slice, 2 mountains and 1 tundra. And then this wants you to have 2 tundra individuals in the same like slant, horizontal line there, or vertical or diagonal line. There we go. All right, so that is all of the actions with the 3 power. So 2 power actions. This is colonize. This is how you get your people and factories out into the new world. So let's go take a look at the new world. So as you can see, the new world is broken up into 4 zones. You have the tundra area, mountains, forests, and the sea area. At the beginning of the game, you can only settle in the tundra region of the map. So the settlement action. When you go to settle a space, you have to take a look at where you are on the satellite track to see which areas you can unlock. At first, you can only settle in the tundra area. Once you get 1 satellite past the midpoint, you can go to the mountainous regions. Get 1 past the 2nd check mark, or the 3rd, I guess, checkpoint. You unlock forest, and the last one you unlock the sea zone. When you go to settle, you have 2 different types of things that you have to settle, and when you settle a location, you have to settle everything within it. There are places that require factories, population and factories, and also some of that will require you to have different settlement icons that you get from satellites, or from some action cards and technology can also either ignore or unlock and give you some of those settlement requirements. One other thing to note is some spaces are more valuable than others. Any of them have like these 3 little dots, so you put 1 population here, instead of getting 1 income, you'll get 3 income, or 2 income, as the case may be. Whenever you're doing settle, factories are free because you basically already paid resources for them to fabricate them. Whenever you go to place for each citizen that you're placing on the board, you have to pay 1 metal for that. Next up is shipbuilding. Shipbuilding, like many other actions, wherever you spend the resources to make that ship, that's where the ship is. That could be from the new world or the old. Typically, you're probably making them in the old world and then using them to ship stuff off to the new world. Let's take a look at the ships. So when building a ship, you have to pay the resources that are in the top left of the ship to construct that ship. All right, so when you take the ship action, to construct a ship, you just pay the resources that are printed in the top left corner, and you then put that ship into your board space area. A few things about the ships. In fact, here, let me see if I can find some other ships here. There we go. That's one. What the ships can do. This is, we'll get to this in the transport section, but this basically tells you which areas of the board these spaceships can evacuate, which will be basically mountain, water, and land, I guess, desert. I don't know. That's the middle section here. And then to the right is how many other things other than what you're evacuating can that ship carry. Some of them just carry resources. Some can carry stadiums and prefab factories on them as well. And we'll get to it later during transport, but just so you know what you're doing when you go to buy these, this is how much energy it takes to ship something from the old world to the new world using that ship. Return flights will always be 1 energy. All right, the last action on the 2 power hour section here is build a stadium. Like spaceships, wherever you construct a stadium, that's where the stadium's at. And they have a cost print at the top of them. So, yep. They have a cost print at the top of them. And they also give you, typically, happiness. Happiness does a couple things. One, the population that has the most entertainment get bonus points at the end of the game. Additionally, this is used for determining who is first player for the next year. And like I said, wherever you build them, wherever you pay for the resources, that's where that stadium resides. There is one other thing on stadiums, so that reason why you want to build them is that people want to have entertainment. Let's go and take a look at the year tracker again. So if you take a look on the left side there, it tells you in each year how many stadiums you need. So in that first year, you don't need any stadiums. When you go into the second year, you still don't need any stadiums in the New World. But when we go into the third year, you need at least 1 stadium or you'll take a penalty chip. When we go into the fourth year, you'll need 2. And then when we end the game, you'll need to have 3 entertainment venues in the New World. Otherwise, you're going to be taking penalty chips. All right, and last is the 1 power actions. So what's a little different with these in the point scoring mode is, or I guess not point scoring, but the action card variant is you cannot take this action multiple times. Because this is also one of the few actions that gives you multiple actions. Instead, that functionality has been taken over by the cards themselves. So it's kind of things we've already seen before, though. Basically, you can get a resource and 2 infrastructure, or a resource and a technology. And you can only do this once when you're playing with the action card module. So, after everyone has taken all their turns that they want to or can pay to do, we'll then move on to the transport phase. And the transport phase, that one, you'll need to pay energy to activate that ship. Usually what I do to kind of help me also budget as I'm doing it is if I'm planning on sending a ship, I kind of go ahead and put the energy for my supply on it, just so I know, all right, I'm reserving this energy to send this ship. So, doing transport, you're going to take a look at your 1 or 2 different kind of evacuation symbols. So we got yellow and gray here. So we're going to take a look at our board. So we take a look at our board here. At the blue player's area. These 2 here in the water, we do not evacuate those. Those are controlled by the satellites. And we'll get to that when we get to the progress phase. So we're going to take a look here. Each one, like this one here is yellow and blue. So I could evacuate this space with my ship, which does yellow and gray. This one has a yellow or gray, just gray, blue, yellow, and blue, and this has none. That's kind of important. Everybody has at least 1 factory that has no evacuation symbols. You'll need to get at least 1 ship that can evacuate a factory to be able to get that last spot. So I go and select whichever ones I want. There's pretty much, once a citizen gets evacuated here, they just become a generic citizen, so they don't have to match up, there's no somebody who is an energy worker here needs to be an energy worker in the New World. You're just basically taking citizens and they go and take whatever job you'll give them. Any factories that you evacuate, so in this case here, say I could evacuate that one, you flip it over, and then you add that to the ship. And let's say in this case here, I then also got gray, so I also know that I only need 4 food in the New World. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one there, which we want to keep energy, so yeah, I'll probably do rid of 2 food production here. And I'll put 2 citizens on the ship. Then to finish out the transport phase. So then to finish the transport phase, spend the energy. And ships from the old world move to the new world. And then immediately unload. Now, if you have a ship in the new world, so let's say that this is year 2, and this is the kind of situation that we had here. To send a ship back to the new world, you need to spend 1 energy from the new world to do that. You can't, let's say, I was also shipping this ship back, I brought energy with me. I cannot use the energy I brought with me because these are supposed to be happening simultaneously. So these do not unload until you're done transporting. So you can't move energy over and then spend that energy to send the other ship back. So after we complete the transport phase, we then go on to the turn order. Turn order is determined by who has the most happiness icons on their technologies and entertainment venues. In the case of a tie between any 2 specific players, their turn order is reversed between them. So if you have somebody with 2 and the other with 1, the 2 1 happiness players will flip on turn order. After turn order, we go to progress. This is where the power comes into play. So you'll add up the power from all the actions that you've taken, be they board actions or played card hands. And you will then have that many movement points on the satellite track. So in this example here, I have 5 plus a 4 or a 5, which I can basically have 9 or 10 power for this, and then also the bonus phase. And why you might want one over the other, we'll get to shortly here. In fact, in this case, I'm going to choose 9 power. So I have 9 movement. This is also done by turn order because these spaces on the track are first come, first serve. Unless you have a technology that lets you break that rule. So I can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if I wanted to. And that's going to then flip over as I have one satellite that passed the first marker, flips over one of my production bonus incomes. And here, if I didn't leave at least 1 food on the old world, I'd be hosed in the next phase because I've now taken away 3 food production, so I'm only producing 4 food. I'm like, no, I'm still good because you only need 4 food. I'm good. I didn't make a mistake. Anyway, and then I can just then move 1 here. And then the other 2 players will then move how much power they have. Next is the bonuses phase. All right, so this is where you then take a look to see which bonuses you qualify for. There's 2 ways to do this. I prefer, and it's more friendly, and it makes more sense to me, is the number that's printed on the card is you have that number or lower. Some like to play where if you want to play on hard mode, you need to be under the printed number to get that specific bonus. So in this case here, it's 9 for this bonus and 12 for this one. So that's kind of why I picked taking 9 power over 10, because I would only get 2 metal, but because I had 9 power, I can get a free clone and a metal and a food. And I probably want to go in, since I'm getting these new, you get to choose which world you put them on, although clone citizens always have to go to the new world. You don't get to pick those on old world. Because why would we want to make new clones in the world that's dying? After bonuses, we do cleanup. So pretty much, so after the bonuses evaluation, we do cleanup. We go and remove everything that's the furthest right in the markets, put them underneath, and then refill and slide. And then also everyone goes and clears out all the action cards that they have that they spent, throw them into discard, and we now kick off the next year. So, in the game, with scoring method, one more thing before we get into in-game scoring is keeping track of production in the New World. Keeping track of production in the New World. Kind of an important thing. So as you gain production in the New World, you have basically 3 different resources. You'll keep track of how much you produce of each resource with those. If you get to the point where you are going to the top of the chart and getting 10, you then just kind of mark, hey, I got energy to 10. And then go back to the bottom. I've never seen anybody get to 20, but I guess if you do, you just put another one on top. There's really not much reason to get just one resource heavily into it. And you'll see why you don't want to do that when we go over the scoring here. You'll score points for your lowest production marker, as shown. So if, in this case here, I got 10 energy, but only 3 food, so I'd get 3 points. You score points for each gold card. You take penalties, -2 for each old world site that you have not evacuated. An additional 1 for each population token that could have been evacuated. So if you leave a double population token behind, that's going to be basically -4 points. You get 3 for each stadium -3 points for each stadium you're missing. -3 for each penalty chip that you took during the income phase. Players who have at least 3 entertainment sites in the New World score points for happy faces. Player with the most gets 6, second most gets 4, and third gets 1. Except in a 2-player game, then it's 4 and 0. Players are tied, divide the points evenly. So if 3 players are tied for first, you get 6, 4, and 1, so each player gets 3 points after rounding down. There's also a couple of other scoring things that you can do. Line majorities, and those are determined by some of the other module cards. Usually don't do that on the first play because it's there's already too much going on in the game for the first playthrough. In race mode, the end game is actually triggered once you have all 3 of your resources above 8 if you're playing the race mode. But again, I don't really like the race mode. I prefer having the set, you know exactly how long the game's going to go, instead of it could end in the 3rd year. And that's how you play Evacuation, or at least with the points rule that I prefer. Although I think I did kind of spread in there the rules for the race method as well. I'm not as much of a fan of that. But yeah, I really like the kind of idea of having to basically have an existing economy, and then you need to just rip it out, but do it in a way that doesn't hose you as you're then shipping everything off to the New World. I really like the theme of it, and also the kind of the satellites as they're drifting between it, kind of taking things away from the old world, giving you access to things in the New World. I feel like I love that theme as well. Player colors, nothing spectacular or anything. All components I think are really nice, and the art style is simple, but I feel like it's a good kind of little bit of like a display. Kind of gives like the theme of electronic display and HUD and everything else. Like I like the color scheme and everything else that they do with it. I wish there was probably a little bit more variety in some of the art for things, like for like the stadiums and things like that. There's not as much as I would like. I do kind of like the gag though of the default one that everyone gets, just a bunch of board games. So I mean, I do appreciate the humor there for that.
far as collectability for the game, I feel like for me, it was a yes. I didn't even have to wait for a sale or anything for it because it's kind of the dual economy, dual planets, like mechanics. Like I feel like it is fairly unique and kind of like has a good presentation on the board. And as far as playing it, it is kind of like it is a little like an economy game, and the action economy is a huge part of it. And so you have to kind of be in the mood for that kind of game. Which for me, I'm always in the mood for that kind of game. So that's an easy chore to yes to like. I don't know if I would go and plan an event around just playing this, but I would definitely, had a group of like-minded, players that kind of into a mid-crunchy, not too much, but still got enough like kind of variance and there's not a whole lot of interaction between players. So some people may or may not like that too much. Because most of the interaction is just basically racing to be the first one to take a spot, or competing for if you're playing with the points for like the most in occupied spaces in the new world along the line. But yeah, also with the technology being different, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of replayability. So I mean, for me, this was an easy yes for the collection, and also yes to play. In fact, I mean, if somebody wants to schedule a session, I'd probably go over to their house. I'm not gonna drive a 20, 30 miles maybe, but play a game. But I would definitely play this on so we had an opportunity. Or if somebody I know that's into those kind of games is here at the house and I want to be like, hey, here's a game that you might like. So this is definitely one that I've been trying to get to the table more often. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys at the table.